A number of stories before us today, Rufai and Dr. Bati. Rufai, start with you, of course. And just looking at, first of all, the president saying, well, the president is saying that the president is depressed by what's happening, the state of insecurity in Nigeria. The PDP, sure, somebody said power, shame, disgrace, a number of words. I mean, I'll let you speak on this. And then we had Mary Chinda give us live reports, even from yesterday whilst we were on air and, you know, on the morning show. Your take on these stories, including the Christian Association of Nigeria.
If the president is depressed about the insecurity, we will not have a foreign minister go to misrepresent facts on Piers Morgan's show. And I challenge his data. Say 177 Christians have been killed in the last 5 years. I challenge, where did he get the data from? Does he know the death toll in Yelwata? Does he know the Christmas killings death toll? If the president, Ayo, was feeling discontent and very sad, once that incident happened over the weekend, I don't think the vice president should have been in Kogi going to welcome new decampees. Also, if the president was very sad about General Uba, that great, victorious general that died fighting for this country, I don't think they should have been welcoming people. If the president was very sad, I don't think they should have been. Anyway, they've postponed the one in Taraba now. They should have been planning a welcome party for the Taraba state government at a time where people in the local government they still protested yesterday based on the killings of the thief. Ralph Waldo Emerson said something. What you do speaks so loud, I can't hear what you say. But yes, President Tinubu, you are very sad about the killings. Then what are you going to do about it? President Tinubu, as sad as you are, I just have one word to say to you this morning. Please, can we investigate complicity in the Kebbi attack? Because we're so easy and quick to mock Madam Jonathan when she was crying, "There is God," about complicity. But do you know that one of the teachers that were interviewed that escaped said that they are deployed security forces around there because the DSS, and kudos to DSS under Mr. Tosin Ajayi, this man has done a fabulous job. He gave, and DSS gave the intel. Security force was there. They are already planning and teaching them the drills. 30 minutes before the attacks, all of a sudden, the security forces left. Who ordered them to leave? President Tinubu, if you are sad, I think the very first thing we need to know is who ordered them to leave. Who gave the order? 30 minutes after they left, the attack happened. So you want to tell me there's no complicity? Tell it to the birds. So who ordered them to leave? And that's the problem we keep saying. So President Tinubu, may the sadness you feel and the sadness we all feel this morning, birth action, not just talk. Because we have seen too much talk. You feel sad about the insecurity. The first calisthenics that your government played was to downplay the fact that they are Christian genocide. We are not saying they are not killing Muslims. They are killing Muslims en masse, and we are upset about it. In fact, the killing of Muslims of genocidal proportion. But there's Christian genocide, but the nihilism is what is unforgivable. And people from your government, like Mr. Tuga and Co., and other people do it. I'm happy that Khan has reasserted what is happening. As regards those that are calling Donald Trump to come and save them in their problem, please, PDP, leave Trump out of your problem. It's a case of two fighting. Both factions, both use state minds. The police are supposed to be catering to the plight of the people. That's what Governor Seyi Makinde used on the other, and Minister Wike also used. All of them use police. They wasted our taxpayers' money. Next year, they will start taxing us heavily. But they just wasted our 200 canisters on a bunch of politicians that are already benefited from Nigeria, that are fed full. And these atrocities were perpetrated by police officers. Police officers that, and for you police that were tear-gassing journalists, it is the same us you will come and meet in 20 years' time when these same politicians you are fighting for will not pay your pension. You will come and meet us to advocate for you. So you are tear-gassing us today. It just shows the failure of the entire ecosystem. So please, they should settle their problem internally. It obviously shows that some people want one-party state. Anyway, they allege that Wike had said that the only term for them is they should not present a stronger candidate. But the question we should ask is, Why will people not want competition in a democracy? But it shows the mentality of these overprivileged Nigerian people. Let's keep deceiving ourselves. Continue.
Right. Dr. Abati.
Okay, in the context of this general, now international concern about security problems in Nigeria, we have had against that background the killing of a general. We have had against that background the abduction of 22 students of a girls' comprehensive school in Maga. We have had against that background the attack on a CAC Apostolic Church in Kwara. Also against that background where some terrorists went there. Now, all of that is fueling the narrative, confirming the position that there is insecurity in Nigeria. But the more problematic part of it is that emerging narrative is placed on the fulcrum of the fact that the victims are Christians and only Christians, and which is not the correct situation. I keep insisting. The major thing you can put your finger on is general insecurity in Nigeria and the incompetence, the inability of the federal government of Nigeria applying either kinetic measures or non-kinetic measures to solve the problem. A problem that you can date back to as far back as 2004. The failure of successive Nigerian governments to deal with the problem is in itself embarrassing. And that is the fact. Now, the story that you have brought to the table is President Tinubu saying he's depressed and government is going to do a lot to get back the 25 students who were abducted from the Comprehensive Girls High School in Maga, Kebbi State. Now, okay, this is the usual thing that government says. Government is always depressed. Government is always regretful. Whether it is Chibok girls or Dapchi girls, and now it is the girls from Kebbi. So the government is just saying the right thing, and then northern governors saying their outrage. Both the federal government and the state government continues to, continue to disappoint the people, whether it's in Kebbi State or it's in Borno State or elsewhere in Nigeria. And that, I think, is the bigger problem that we have to address. However, the danger in it is that the international community that is not built up a narrative about Christian genocide will feed on it like worms to say whatever they want to say. Riley Moore, House of Representatives member in the U.S., in addition to Tom Cole, the chairman of the Appropriations Committee, Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, and Ted Cruz. This is, good material for them. And the Trinidadian bimbo, Nicki Minaj, who spoke yesterday at a UN event, they are all already feeding into it. Riley Moore says, for example, that Kebbi is a Christian state, and the students that were abducted were Christian students. But that is not true. Kebbi is a predominantly, Christian, Muslim state, and the people that were adopted, they were Muslims. But when the state is negligent, when the state fails in terms of its responsibilities, then you will get that kind of riposte from other people who, by the way, may have their own agenda to pursue. Meanwhile, we have in Nigeria, since the time of President Jonathan, what we call a Safe Schools Initiative. When the Dapchi girls were abducted, it was the same thing we were talking about, Safe Schools Initiative. In fact, some state governments said they were going to provide more security, they were going to fence the schools round, and yet in spite of all of that, you still have 25 students being abducted from a school in Kebbi State. So the bigger issue is the failure of the state. And I think that, we may just well address all of this instead of thinking that somebody from another country will come and save Nigeria. And that takes me to the crisis in the PDP. The PDP, I said, is imploding. The PDP, I wrote, back page of the of this day, yesterday, has left the ICU. It has gone to the mortuary. It is looking for the Lazarus effect with the hope that the party will resurrect. But the situation seems to be getting worse than what happened in 2014. The politicians must realize that it was this kind of situation that we had in 1964, in 1965, that provided part of the catalyst for the collapse of the First Republic. Politicians not agreeing among themselves and then causing friction in the country. But the unfortunate thing is that Nigerian politicians have lost the capacity either to learn from history or to improve themselves. Second, what happened at the PDP secretariat in Wuse yesterday was foreseeable, and I'll be surprised if anybody is surprised about what happened. One faction fighting against another. But the big issue is about national stability. It's about history repeating itself. And we hope that the statement that history first repeats itself as a farce and then it repeats itself subsequently as a tragedy does not happen in this particular case. But we can also say that, one, we do not need a one-party state. I continue to do so, that you need the opposition, and the opposition must be allowed to thrive. But this does not mean that, any major actor in that axis should now call for the intervention of Donald Trump or the intervention of the international community. This remains a sovereign country, and we continue to call on the part of the political actors for patriotism. Saying that people should come and save democracy in Nigeria. No, it is Nigerian politicians who can save democracy in Nigeria. It is not Donald Trump. It is not anybody in the international community. But I guess that, Kameno Tanumu Turaki SAN, KT SAN, spoke out of exuberance. He is from Kebbi State. Even in his own native Kebbi State, I do not think that anybody in that state, whether it's Adamu Aliero or other major stakeholders in that state, will call for Trump to come and save democracy in Nigeria. It is important for politicians in Nigeria to play politics according to the rules, to respect the rules, and what we find in the People's Democratic Party is that people are not respecting the rules. The party has abandoned its own constitution. Friendship among the parties involved would seem to have broken down. Finally, the Archbishop Daniel Oko talking about genocide in Nigeria. Well, considering his position as president of the Christian Association of Nigeria, he has a responsibility to defend the faithful. The Pope has also intervened in the matter. Other parties have said Christians are being attacked in Nigeria. But the residual point is the position of the Nigerian government is that it is not just Christians that are being attacked. Muslims are being attacked also. Many of the commentators may not admit the complexity of the Nigerian situation, but the issue is that the Nigerian government has a responsibility to protect everyone, whether Christian, Muslim, or animists, and that we should not allow religion to divide the country, to make this country more problematic than it already is. That, in my view, is the point.
All right. Let me start off with the PDP. What happened at the PDP secretariat yesterday? Some people have called it, we had it as a story, as Wahala in Wadata, PDP showdown, a number of things. But I think that a lot of people would agree that it was an unfortunate and unnecessary show of shame. And I believe that it is particularly disgraceful because these are our political leaders. The PDP is the main opposition party, and you can see a number of things as a fallout. We've talked a lot about the internal wranglings and the internal upset of the party in itself, PDP, the fate of the PDP, how strong an opposition it might be, the people working against the PDP. But I think what we see on the screen, if you see the fighting that's happened there, is something that we shouldn't we shouldn't be seeing at a time like this. Number one, it was very poor timing because, as Dr. Abati, you mentioned, the chairman, well, the alleged or the chairman from the convention over the weekend of the PDP is from Kebbi State, where we have a serious matter of concern that 25 of our young girls, not animals, not plants, not inanimate objects, human beings, young girls of the future were kidnapped. And yet, because of the matter of politics, even as an opposition, I'm not sure they've been able to have enough time to present a response or a comment with regards to what's happening in Kebbi State. And that's quite sad. And it definitely shows where the priority of the political elite is, whereby it's about power grabbing, who's next, and who can dominate in terms of a powerful shame. Now, another part that really was concerning was the use of state resources for what was a political matter within a political party. We talk about how, first of all, we need more personnel in our security agents, especially with the police. And we see the policemen, they're trying to settle and bring people and peace and order, which is part of their responsibility. But if this didn't happen, then we wouldn't have a waste of resources, human and financial. And spot on fire, I was just thinking of how much money it costs the taxpayers. I think until we as taxpayers recognize the fact that this is our money on display being wasted, because if you were your company, you ask for how money was being spent, where resources was wasted on such an activity as this, because grown men in a political party could not come to the table and act like adults. Beyond that as well, I believe when you come to the code of conduct of policemen, I was like, okay, so the police can actually use just tear gas to disperse a situation that threatens to break down law and order. Whereby we have peaceful protesters who go out and we hear of people being, their live rounds of bullets being shot, people being tear gassed. But when it comes to the politicians, the police knows how to restrain itself in the face of fracas like this and not take on, very bullish action. I think that's something to take note of, so that the next time Nigerians exercise their right to peaceful protest, which is more on the side of the law than this show whereby people could have actually lost lives, they would conduct themselves more professionally, because it shows that it is possible. Beyond that, when we talk about the loss of lives, last time when I spoke about the interface between the Minister of the FCT and the military personnel at the land, I said that it could easily have descended into a free flow whereby the two sides could have opened fire and would have had an unnecessary loss of lives. The same thing could have happened yesterday. And I don't know if we don't think about the ramifications of our decisions or the consequences of actions that we take. And so if anyone had lost their lives yesterday, the conversation would be that because there were internal wranglings in the political party, lives were wasted in such a manner. Then finally, let me talk about the security. And I'm happy that the president feels deeply about what's going on as in the nation, in Nigeria currently. But emotion ought to provoke action. That it would be the best use of emotion. Nigerians don't want to hear any more condolence messages. We don't want to hear any more stories around I'm disappointed, I'm disheartened. All those things, we've heard it with previous administrations. What we want to see as the best response for Nigerians is action to be taken to end this insecurity, to ensure that young children, whether boys or girls, can go to school without the fear of being kidnapped or harmed while they're in school. This is 48 hours later. Yesterday, I was saying that was 24 hours later, and I cannot imagine what has happened to the young girls at the time of the report. And now, 48 hours later, no arrest, nothing we've not had any concrete news to give to Nigerians this morning with regards to the outcome of the Kebbi incident, and that is quite sad. I put it to the president, who is asking for locals to provide intelligence. That intelligence is not our problem, as we saw yesterday or 2 days ago in Kebbi State, because intelligence, the DSS had intelligence, but what happened to the intelligence? So it's not for a lack of the instruments to actually deal with the matter. It is the fact that there are people who are sabotaging the efforts of people who want to do right. And until those people are fished out, whether those who are financing, those who have political gain, those who are selling out the Nigerian government and the security agents, who are not going to make any headway with insecurity. So I put it to the president and the security agents that they know what to do. They know who these people are, but will they have the will to do what it takes to ensure that Nigerians can feel safe in their homes, in schools, on the road, wherever they are, and their lives will be protected, especially the future of Nigeria that seems to be cut off at this point. I know that Adefemi, in the course of her news brief, will talk about further what's happened with Nicki Minaj, going to the UN, speaking yesterday. We'll talk about the Piers Morgan interview. We'll talk about the Minister, Yusuf Tuga's performance. So I'll wait for that to give my take and comments on that, particularly with regards to how we have a big challenge with data in Nigeria and how that is in itself a matter of national concern and fueling insecurity and not being able to present the true state of the Christian genocide that Nigeria is currently experiencing at the moment. If we don't have facts, if we don't have figures, we cannot claim full-heartedly that nothing is happening of that such in the country.